My name's Buckley. I'm one of the candidates in the by-election in Gorton and Denton. I'm going to show you my connection to this area, to your area. I'm going to show you where I went to school, where I lived, everything I've done. I'm the local candidate. You remember that. If you want a local MP, you vote Nick Buckley. Debdale Park. Who hasn't been in Debdale Park? I've spent many afternoons here when I was a kid. And then as I was older, I brought other kids in here to use the boating lake, go canoeing. And when I was a teenager, I slept in this park once with my friends. Don't tell my mum. Don't tell my mum. The old Mouldiff pub. Who remembers a Mouldiff pub? Our communities are changing. Most of the time it's not for the better, is it? And if we're talking about changing, who turned Kingsway into a 30-mile-an-hour zone? There's been 40 all my life. Which idiot did that? First teenage love of my life went here. Levenshulme High School for Girls. That was many decades ago. Crown Point Retail Park. Who hasn't been shopping here? I bought my first widescreen TV here. It was that heavy, it took two of us to lift it into the car. We didn't have flat screens those days. I've worked this area in Horton Green, running youth projects, working on the streets with kids, making sure they weren't getting into trouble, making sure they knew all the opportunities that were available for them. We have to do more for kids if we want them to be productive, positive citizens in the future. The Danebank pub. I went for lunch there many times when I used to work down the road. Good food, good people. Gorton Market. I worked here many decades ago, but it didn't look like this then. It was metal frames with tarpaulin on top. I used to sell children's clothes and luggage. This is Gorton Police Station. I used to work with the officers there on a Friday night, patrolling this area, making sure the kids weren't getting into trouble and causing mischief. This is the sort of work I've done across Manchester and Greater Manchester. Stanley Grove Primary School, my primary school. That's where I went to school. I've got so many great memories there. I made some great friends. I made lifelong friends at Stanley Grove Primary School. Levenshulme swimming baths. This is where I learned to swim with primary school. Look at the state of the building now. Did your MP allow that to happen? Bellevue Leisure Centre. That's my old school, Central High School for Boys. But Bellevue was something important for this area, and we lost that, and we lost part of our history. That's something we're never going to get back. I told you I was a local boy. I've shown you where I went to school, where I've worked, and all the things I've done for the community. At this election, you need to vote for local now. You need to vote for Nick Buckley, Advance UK, for safer streets, for better value, and for real local representation.
Right, well, Nick will be joining us very, very shortly. I'm going to play another little promo here, because I tell you what, he's done a fantastic job with his videos. So I'm going to drop another promo just into the system here while we're waiting for him to dive in. But this one's a cracking one. I haven't seen one like this before. It's absolutely superb.
Gorton as a baby before moving to Longsight. I lived in Gorton as a baby before moving to Longsight. I attended Stanley Grove Primary School and then Central High School for Boys at Bellevue, which was a challenge.
Sorry, miss.
I was a self-employed market trader, then got a job at Manchester Airport before working at Manchester Council to stop young people getting involved in crime.
Right.
I was made redundant
and
used my payout
Cheers,
to set up a charity.
In fact, Nick, I tell you what, I'm going to send you on. I'll send you on Twitter. Yeah, I'll send it on Twitter.
To ensure they were safe.
All right, mate, cheers.
And thinking about their future. We uncovered sexual abuse many times and had offenders arrested. I also set up a project to get homeless people off the streets and into accommodation, and then into jobs. I have worked across Greater Manchester, tackling antisocial behaviour and improving local communities. I have even advised Prime Ministers. Our late Queen recognised me for this work and awarded me an MBE in 2019. There is nothing special about me. I'm one of you. I want the best for my neighbours, my community and my country. The time for doing nothing is over. Stand up, chin up, shoulders back. You have already won the lottery of life. You were born English in England. I'm standing in the by-election in Gorton and Denton. I've got a 5-point plan for this area. And number one.
Right, Nick, we're in. Everybody knows about you, Nick, because we've just seen the two best political promo videos I've seen in years. Can I put, guys? Do you know what? Now Nick's here, I want to play them both again because they're absolutely spectacular. In fact, I'm gonna definitely play this one again because we had to interrupt this one. This one's an absolute cracker. So let me just put this in the screen there, Nick.
In Gorton as a baby before moving to Longsight. I attended Stanley Grove Primary School and then Central High School for Boys at Bellevue, which was a challenge.
Sorry, miss.
I was a self-employed market trader, then got a job at Manchester Airport before working at Manchester Council to stop young people getting involved in crime. I was made redundant and used my payout to set up a charity to work on the streets with young people to ensure they were safe and thinking about their future. We uncovered sexual abuse many times and had offenders arrested. I also set up a project to get homeless people off the streets and into accommodation and then into jobs. I have worked across Greater Manchester, tackling antisocial behaviour and improving local communities. I have even advised Prime Ministers. Our late Queen recognised me for this work and awarded me an MBE in 2019. There is nothing special about me. I'm one of you. I want the best for my neighbours, my community and my country. The time for doing nothing is over. Stand up, chin up, shoulders back. You have already won the lottery of life. You were born English in England.
Love it, Nick. Absolutely.
Good, isn't it? Isn't it good?
Mate, it's legendary. I mean, that's the way to do it. And listen, how's it all going? What's happening up there in Garson? What's going on?
It's going well. It's hard for a small party without the budget of the big parties. We've been ignored by the mainstream press. The Manchester Evening News didn't invite me to the hustings. The BBC Today didn't invite me to the hustings. But on the doorstep, people have heard of me because, you know, I've run for mayor before. I've got a little bit of a reputation across Greater Manchester. It's going well. Social media, that's where we're making a big impact on social media and hoping those people then will tell their family and friends.
Those videos are engaging because I've seen loads of party political broadcasts and you just don't engage with them. But that's engaging because you're from the area and can I say you're the only person that's a local? Would that be the correct thing to say? All the rest of them are blow-ins and millionaires and academics and all the rest of it. But you're a local lad. And also, just so everybody knows in the chat, 50,000 votes in that mayoral election, right?
Yes.
50,000 plus. That is no small task for an independent candidate. So you know, you're not a virgin to this, Nick. How do you win this election? This isn't your first rodeo. How are you going to win this?
My strategy really is to plug me. It's about the local lad. Look what he's done for this area over 2 decades when he wasn't a politician. Can you imagine what he's going to do when he gets in as a politician and he's got his hands on the levers of power? He's going to hold the council responsible. He's going to hold the police responsible. And he's going to make sure you hold him responsible. That's sort of my message on the doorstep, out and about. I'm the outsider at the moment. I'm probably 4th in the race as we stand today. Greens, Labour, Reform are ahead of me. And all I can do is what I can do. I'm going up in the polls every day. The bookies had me 500 to 1, then 200 to 1, then 100 to 1. Now I'm 80 to 1 the other day at one of the bookies. So I'm going in the right direction.
It's absolutely, yeah.
And we've got, what have we got now? 9 days to go. That video you just shown was released yesterday. It went viral today. Today's the first day I can say I got national attention.
I don't know if Tommy put it out. I sent it to Tommy earlier on. Did he put it out? Brilliant. I asked him to. That's great. Well done, Tommy. Well, I mean, you know, that's fantastic because that little push will make a big difference, because he's got like, I don't know, 1.5 million followers, maybe it's more than that now on Twitter. So that's that's good news. And who made that, Nick? Because that looks really difficult to make. I mean, or maybe it's not now with AI. I mean, how was that made?
Well, that took me 3 minutes on my computer at home.
No, really?
No, it didn't. No, that's these two very clever guys based in Wigan who probably spent 17 hours a day for 4 days on supercomputers to get that done.
It was really cool. I mean, I like the throwback to the dark mop of hair, Nick. That was you look the part, mate. It was brilliant. Really, really, really enjoyed that. That was absolutely fantastic.
But it sends the right message. It sends the right message of, here's a local guy who you may not have heard of, who's already been working decades to improve your life. Never wanted thanks, never wanted you to know his name, but did the work anyway because it was the right thing to do. And that's the message that our country, our society doesn't have to be like this. There's millions of people like me. There's good people out there. We need to stop picking career politicians who only care about their career. There's hundreds and thousands of people like me out there. We need to get local people who care about the local area. It's not that difficult.
It's getting them engaged, isn't it, Nick? I mean, I think the thing is letting them know that they can make a difference. And I think we're in a situation now. Obviously, we've got a lot of flux in the political arena at the minute, but I think we're in the situation now where we can actually have a political revolution. Tommy keeps talking about it. I've been talking about it for years. And I think with Advance UK, it's, this to me, for me personally, is 10 years of work since 2016, 2017, when I first started getting involved in the politics of it. And, after the terrorist attacks, started getting involved with the veterans and the football lads and Tommy and UKIP and all that sort of stuff. So, that's been my journey. And to me, Advance UK, obviously it's not my party, it's I'm just a member, but it sums up everything that I've been wanting in a political party for the past 10 years, for the past 20 years, probably 30 years. It's like I say it's in the Goldilocks zone. It's exactly where it should be, and it's saying all the right things. And it's just a question. We just need to, again, it's the visibility of it. And I mean, maybe we can. I think if there's any weakness in Advance, it's actually in the promotional side and the social media side. I think that probably needs a lot of TLC and some guru like your guys in Wigan or wherever they were to come in and help out a bit with that, because I think that we've got all the messaging, we've got all the policies, we've got the college, we've got the structure of the party, we've got great leadership. We've got Ben Habib, who is like, how many party leaders can you just pick up? I'm just a rank and file member. I can pick up the phone and talk to Ben because he knows that if I do talk to him, if I'm picking up the phone to him, there's a damn good reason. But how many other leaders of any organisation are that accessible? And so I'm so glad that you came on board, Nick, because obviously did you ever do UKIP? Well, you weren't ever UKIP, I don't think, were you? You didn't do UKIP, no. Did you? We all did UKIP 2018, but then, For Britain was a thing, and then obviously Brexit party reform. Nigel wouldn't let me into the party anyway. It's as simple as that, because any pal of Tommy Robinson, there's a big massive hex on you, and you can't go anywhere near anything to do with Nigel Farage. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think I was looking at Matt Goodwin. I'm not going to start criticising people, but I was looking at Matt today, and it's not really criticism. I'm going to try and be as nice as possible. It was like watching Keir Starmer. It was very, he was on the top of this vehicle with a microphone saying, "Vote for Matt Goodwin," and I was like, no, that's not how you do it. That's not. It's like, we're not in the 1970s in Northern Ireland with Ian Paisley driving around in a minibus, shouting "Vote Ian Paisley." There's so much better ways to do it. Anyway, but I really, really, I'm so excited that you've come so late to this and you're already polling in 4th position. It's some feat. And I mean, what do you actually expect, Nick? What do you can I ask that? Do you expect to win? Do you think you can win?
I go into every race working hard to win. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to win. That just means I think I've got a chance. Everybody who enters the race has got a chance of winning.
Yeah.
So I don't go into anything thinking I ain't going to win this race. There's no point entering if that's how
No.
you think.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we've got three favourites. We've got Labour, Greens and Reform. None of them are clear favourites, regardless of what you read. The Greens are doing well, but they're not as popular as the press and the bookies are making out they are. They're just not. Still can win, but they're not going to run away with this. Labour of brand has been damaged, but I'm talking to people who are still going to vote Labour and just admit to me, but I'm telling no one. I know I shouldn't, but I'm going to. Do you remember years ago we had the shy Tories? Nobody would admit voting Tory. We've got shy Labour voters now because that's all they've ever known. And they don't want to vote Green because Greens now are attracting radical Islamists.
Yeah.
So they don't want to go there. And then we've got Reform. Reform are throwing a lot of money at this. So they're all bells and whistles with fireworks going off in the background. They're having some cut through because there doesn't seem to be anybody else to vote for apart from me with Advance UK. And the more I'm speaking to people, I'd say 50% of the people I've spoken to who said they're going to vote Reform have left the conversation saying, I've changed, I'm voting for you.
Wow.
About 50% of people, because they were only voting Reform because there was no one else on offer. So any of those three parties can win. If Reform slip up, Reform are already going down in the polls nationally. Matt Goodwin isn't the best candidate for this area. Matt Goodwin, I agree with probably everything he ever says.
Yeah.
So I've not got a problem with Matt Goodwin, but he's a southern softy up in the north of England. If you watch him walking around the streets, he's always got leather gloves on and a scarf.
I saw that.
And I'm going, it's not, this isn't cold.
I know.
It's only cold for you because you're a southerner. That's why you think it's cold, mate.
I made a comment about that because I saw exactly the same. He was there, and I said he needs to go and do some sea swimming. He needs to get wherever the nearest sea to Manchester is. Manchester Ship Canal. Get in the canal and do a bit of skinny dipping. You know what I mean?
If he's that delicate walking around suburbs of Manchester, I'm not sure he's the right MP for up north.
No.
But if they, I mean, we've got 9 days left. Anything can happen in 9 days.
Yeah.
It's up to those three parties to drop the ball. And if they do, someone like me could just nick it through the middle. Potentially, I'm not deluded.
What do you need in number of votes to actually get in?
I think someone's going to win this on 23%.
23%. How many votes would that be?
What are you looking at? You're looking maybe 40, 50,000. You're looking at 10,000 votes.
Well, that's, what? That's doable,
Yeah.
That's 8 to 10,000 votes is. Yeah. I mean, if you polled 50,000 votes in the mayoral election, now obviously that's a massive area.
Yeah.
But there's still going to be people in there that would have voted for you in this constituency, right? So this is. I think it's all. And again, I know there's people in the chat that's from Liverpool. I don't know if there's anyone from Manchester. Oh, I'm 30 miles from Gorton. Didn't even have a coat on today. Anthony, if you're 30 miles from Gorton, what's happening at the weekend, Nick? Let's talk about this because let's get people from this chat to your event at the weekend. Let's see if we can get people there. What's happening at the weekend?
Yeah, so this Saturday, the 21st, starting at 11 a.m. We've got a little square in Denton called Albert Square. It's where the old town hall used to be. It's a nice little open space. We've got speakers going there. We've got Ben Habib, we've got Ricky Doolan, we've got Sarah White, we've got Howard Cox and myself. There'll be other people giving speeches. It's not a rally, it's a get together. Because to have a rally, we're going to have to register with the council. It's not a rally. It's a get-together, a political get-together. And there's going to be stalls there, merchandise, and it's opportunity to come down. Anyone in the area, ask me questions, meet me. Ben will be there for a couple of hours. Some of the other guests will be there for a couple of hours. I'll be there for 3-4 hours. Come down, support Advance UK, support me. If you've got any questions on any topic whatsoever, come and find me and ask me questions.
So that's 11:30, Denton, Albert Square, Denton. Yeah. This Saturday. this Saturday.
Yeah.
So guys, if you're in the chat and if you're within, I mean, Anthony, you've dropped yourself in it there now because you call yourself Anthony Gorton, so 30 miles from Gorton. So Anthony, you've got to get down there, mate, and support Nick if you can at the weekend. Let's have a look at this. Best Black, good luck, Nick. This is a lady from Northern Ireland. I believe you are the best candidate as you know the area. We need local people, real patriots from the Mighty Isles. So that's from a Belfast lass who is an absolute warrior. She's one of my admins. She keeps all the bad people away from me. and I tell you what, I've been getting some stick in the last few days, Nick. I'm not going to go into detail, but it's been a little bit controversial. Let's just put it that way. And I don't know whether you've had any trolls attacking you, but there's quite a few trolls out there at the minute that don't like what Advance UK are doing. But we'll persevere and keep on going.
Yeah. I've sort of avoided that because I've not got time at the moment to comment and read into and check out what's been going on the last few days.
Yeah.
I'm running an election, so I've avoided a lot of the conflicts with that, which there shouldn't be any conflicts.
No.
We're the same people fighting for the same things.
I agree.
Yeah, I've been getting abused now for 3 weeks, but that's only off a very small percentage of Reform supporters who see me as a traitor, quizzling, splitting the vote. I'm being paid for by the Jewish lobby, the Green lobby, the Labour lobby. You name a lobby, apart from my mum's lobby, I'm being paid by that lobby to split the vote. And
Nick, send them my way. I'll take the money and I'll just do the opposite of what they want me to do. I mean,
yeah, send me some money. Then
I'd love to get some of this Jewish money. I've got loads of Jewish friends. None of them have ever given me a lot of money. You know what I mean? But and what about, obviously you were talking. Let's drill down into some of the other parties and what's going on. So the Green. Here's the thing, Nick. I cannot for the life of me understand why Zach Polanski. Well, I can't understand why Zach Polanski. Let's just start there, right? He is, as far as I know, he's Jewish, right? Yep. Now he's gay. I think he's gay. Yep. I'm not judging him for that. Yep. But he is flirting with hardcore Islamists. What is that about? I just, it explodes my brain. Can you explain that to me? You're on the ground. You know what's happening up there. Is that a thing up where you are? Is there a radical Muslim vote yet?
Absolutely. And they're attracting that. They're campaigning for that. This isn't Zach Polanski flirting with radical Islamists. This is radical Islamists flirting with the Green Party. This is a hostile takeover. This is a Trojan horse attempt to get enough radical Islamists into the Green Party that they change the rules, kick out the woke lefties, and then it becomes an Islamist party.
Is that what they're doing?
That's what's happening to the Green Party.
Yeah.
The Greens are so pink and fluffy and cuddly that they can't see they're being used. This happened in Iran when the Shah, the Ayatollah took over. It was a left-wing revolution, the 1979 revolution. And the left-wing socialists thought they were using the Ayatollah to get to power. And the second the Ayatollah got to power, he executed all the socialists. And that's what's going to happen in the Green Party. All these socialists, far left, trans, all these woke fools are all going to get kicked out of the party once the Islamists take over the executive, get enough votes in there and stuff like that. The Green Party will implode before the next general election.
Yeah. I was going to say let's hope. In a way, I don't hope they implode because I think the more lefty part, people, complain about us splitting the vote. I want loads of lefty parties. I'm really sad that your party seems to have fallen apart. I hope they get some more wind in the sails. Let the Lib Dems have a decent show. We want as many lefty parties as there possibly can be to just atomize their vote. And I don't think they'll manage to get a coalition together that would stand together. I don't think they'll be able to do it. And I think, do you know what, Nick? I mean, obviously big picture stuff here, I suppose going slightly away from the by-election, but I think we should try and find a way of having of bringing the right together. Yeah. I don't think you have to, I think there's, again, I'm not going to get into all this stuff that's been going on, but I don't think you necessarily have to join the parties together, but you can have a way of working together and having dialogue, and going, okay, well, if we do this will work, and because sometimes it's not the right thing for parties to join. Do you know what I mean? It's not the right thing for that to happen, but it might be the right thing to say, okay, we'll do this, you do that. you have those constituencies, we'll have these constituencies, and see where we can, see where we end up and see where we go with it. Because I think that's probably the most likely and sensible scenario for what was happening between Restore and Advance. And maybe if Reform sort their act out, who knows? I mean, I don't think they ever will sort their act out. I think it's too late for that. But if they did, it would be great to see something like that. But I don't know. There's got to be some way of beating these progressive lefty nutcases in a general election. We did it down here, Nick, in the constituency I'm in Northern Ireland. The local MP's a mate of mine, and he managed to get all the Unionist MPs to stand down, apart from him. No, sorry, the UUP didn't stand down, but all the rest of them stood down. And one UUP candidate, Tim Collins, the ex-SES guy, he stood and he got absolutely thrashed by a local lad who does loads and loads of constituency work. So even if you don't win this one, Nick, this is going to stand you in good stead for the next one, when maybe there can be some sort of a deal done with different parties and say, hold on, if we're really serious about saving our country, we're going to have to get the candidates in that can actually win.
Yeah. I'm a big believer of cometh the hour, cometh the man or woman. Yeah. So our country's failing. We know it's failing. We're almost bankrupt. The streets aren't safe. No one's happy. 5,000 men a year kill themselves in the UK. 20% of all women are on antidepressants. It's like this isn't the country I grew up in. This isn't the life I want to pass over to my grandchildren. That's why I'm in this fight. So a leader will emerge. The leader might already be there. We might know the name. We might not. But someone is going to come through the ranks who has the skills, the charisma, and the reputation to start pulling people together. Yeah. So you're right. It might not be mass mergers, but it might be just cooperation. It might be, very loose alliances when it comes to general elections, when it comes to certain areas. We can't win here, but we're going to give you a free run. If you give us a free run in this place where we're looking like we might run, and then supporting each other and stopping attacking each other.
Yeah.
I don't think Reform is in that group.
No.
And in fact, I'm not sure I'd want Reform in it. I'm talking about the executive here.
Yeah.
The people who support Reform, the members of Reform, 99% of them are decent, patriotic, fantastic people. I should know. I've met thousands of them. So I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the top of the party. They're not on the right.
Yeah.
They're basically centrists at best. And they're the rebranding of the Tory party. I don't want the top. I don't want any MPs in Reform coming over to our side, but I'll have their supporters and their members. But we will see.
I think we'll get that, and I think like you say, cooperation. Because I mean, I get very hot under the collar and very vexed, and I say loads of stupid stuff, and then 10 minutes later I go, oh man, what did I just say there? But I think so if I take myself out of the picture, all the parties should be okay. But I think that this idea of cooperation is a really good idea, rather than amalgamation or basically everybody going one way or another. The parties are set up by the people that have set them up for very specific reasons. It didn't happen by accident. So there's room for several parties on the right if they actually learn to cooperate and learn to work together. I genuinely believe that. I think
it's called a grand coalition. So, so I'm gonna shoot this stuff off my head now. I've given it no thought. I'm not saying these people will be involved, but can you imagine a coalition at the moment? Can you imagine if we had, the right wins the election through a coalition? And we've got Rupert Lowe as Prime Minister. We've got Bernard Beebe as Deputy Prime Minister. We've got David Curtin, head of Heritage. We've got Nick Tenconi has got a position in there. You've got me with a position. You've got other, and next thing you know, you're looking at this cabinet and you're going, wow, something special there. Look, all these people don't necessarily agree on everything, but they're experts in the field they've been given, the department they've been given. That's what they're good at. They're bringing all their voters, their supporters on board, and we've all got one mission, which is saving the UK. We'd all have to sign up to half a dozen aims and objectives of what we're going to do, but everything else would be loose, and it would be like, we're going to achieve these things, but don't worry about these small things. You're not going to get all the small things your way, but
the big things.
It's the big things. A decade from now, Yeah, maybe the coalition ends and then we start fighting over the small things once we've saved the country. There's no point fighting about national parks at the moment when the country's almost bankrupt and we're dying. We don't need to spend time on national parks. But maybe 10, 20 years from now, national parks will be important again. So
Exactly.
that's what I'm sort of looking at, a national
Do you know,
coalition.
I absolutely agree, and I think that's a sensible way of doing it. So and again, I'm just a lowly grunt in the trenches in Advanced UK, but to me, that's a sensible way of doing it. So you don't go against Restore. You don't have to join them, but you just don't go against them. So you divvy the constituencies up. That would be the biggest challenge that you'd have, is divvying the constituencies up before a general election. And that's why I call this How to Win an Election, because this election, if you win this, it will be the biggest political upset, and it'll be an absolute... I'll crack open a bottle of champagne, and I'll actually send you a bottle of champagne and some cigars if you win it. I'm going to have to stand over that now, aren't I? But, if you win this, it's going to be an absolutely just a storming event, and the media won't be able to ignore Advance UK or the sensible right. And when I look at Advance UK, everything very moderate. It's not like we're, people say it's a far right. It's not a far right party. The event, you spoke of it by video link. The event there was black, brown, white, old, young, veterans, all sorts of just proper British people, right? 1,000 people in that place. The atmosphere was absolutely electrifying. I'm sure Restore are having the same sort of thing. They've got a real bounce. They're getting loads of people joining and so on and so forth. So there's an appetite for something radical to happen. And that radical thing does not have to be two parties joined together necessarily. It has to be the two parties working together, and everybody else getting that gravitational pull to bring them, to bring everybody in the same direction. And I think that's what, and Ben said this, like forever. Ben has said he will cooperate with anybody that agrees with his principles and policies to make it work. And he's, he's one of the most sacrificial people I know in terms of, I'll just give up, whatever, but I'll hand the reins over to someone else. So I think from that point of view, there really is hope, because I was, when Restore launched, I must admit, I was a bit, oh, what did you do that for? It was like kind of, but now I'm settling down and going, actually, this could all work out really well if we just have cool heads and sit down and go, what's the best way to find a way through this as a group of people that broadly agree on pretty much everything. There's a few nuanced things, but a lot of things seem to be pretty settled. And, I think the potential is phenomenal. But I also think there's a sense of urgency that this is the last chance saloon for the UK.
It's not. Yeah,
do you not think? Do you think?
Absolutely not the last chance saloon.
Right. Okay.
That mantra was started by Reform.
Right.
Scare people into voting for Reform.
Right,
this is your last chance. You have to vote for us.
Yeah.
Our country is a mess. I'm not trying to underplay the mess we're in, but we've been in worse situations than this before. We've had Nazis 20 miles away trying to invade. We've Napoleon, Spanish Armada, the Black Death. We've been in worse situations than this before. We've always pulled through. Now, again, we're in dire straits. I get that. But the next election, the election after that, the election after that, they're not the end of the road. We're going to get through this. I'm not sure how long it's going to take. I'm waiting for that person, that man or woman, to step forward and lead us to a better tomorrow, to the promised land. And that person's on the way. But I'm tired of this. This is our last chance. We hear it all the time with climate change emergency. 5 years to save the planet. I started hearing that 32 years ago. How's that going at the moment? So not anyone who tells you this is our last chance, you need to pull them up on it and say, stop scaring people, because we're not going to make the right decisions when we've terrified the nation.
Because what you do is you rush. Do you know what, Nick? You're the first person I've heard say that. And I think that is a really, really valid point. And again, I know there's a lot of listeners that get really, really down, and I try to give hope. But sometimes things just it kind of crowds in, doesn't it? And you kind of you go off on a tangent. So that's a really encouraging.
Can you imagine Winston Churchill on the radio in 1942 saying to the people, Hitler, the Nazis are too strong. We're not going to win this, but we're going to carry on fighting. It's like you might as well just give up now if
Yeah.
that's what you're going to say.
Yeah.
I am not giving up. I am not going to admit we're defeated until my last breath leaves my body. I'm going to die on my feet for this country rather than die on my knees.
Oh, me too. You know, and I've said that, you know, and even if it came to, you know, a horrendous conflict, you know, as long as I'm fit enough to stand and fight, I'll stand and fight, you know, until my die, until as they're nailing that last nail in the coffin, I'll still have my arm out the coffin and say, just one more, just one more thing, you know, because, and I think that's what we are. You know, for all our faults, Nick, we're warriors, right? Yeah. The men who've stood up for this country, Tommy, and I'm you know, I'm not going to say me, but you know, the people around me, you know, all the people that have been doing this for years are warriors, and it's great to see more people coming into the fight, even if they're coming in a little bit late. It's good to see people coming, but you know, we've got to be warriors, and we've got to have that warrior mindset where we will not give up, and we won't. You know, we won't stop, and we won't be bullied or browbeaten. And I think that message has definitely given a lot of hope. Can we go through some of these points, Nick, on the on your leaflet, just so you can? And again, let us know in the chat if you're from Nick's constituency. Let us know in the chat, because we want to know how many people watching this tonight will actually be able to make a change. Even if it's just one person that can vote, it makes a difference. And I always say every single vote makes a difference, and every single person absolutely needs to be registered to vote. If you're not registered to vote, you just ain't in the game. It's as simple as that. You're not in the race. I would say everyone register to vote, sign the pledge, and join advance. But everyone knows my mantra. I've been saying that for years. And I was thinking that, you know, the pledge could be something, that a document that could bring people together. Because it's a common sense document. It's very detailed, and you can take 5 points from that. That should be a document that should get Restore, Advance, UKIP, you know, all the other Heritage. You mentioned them earlier. All those parties should be able to come together on that string of policies. So so let's have a look at this leaflet and go through this leaflet here, Nick. So, okay, let's go through them one by one. So we'll start with the grooming. Tell me what the grooming situation is that you know of in your area. What's happening with the grooming? Yeah,
well, before we get into that, let me tell you that the 11 candidates standing, I'm the only one with a manifesto, and I'm the only one with a local manifesto.
Wow.
Every other party is talking about national issues. We're going to save the NHS. We're going to stop the boats. We're going to do a wealth tax. And it's like, that's great. But as one MP, you can't do any of that.
Yeah.
This is pie in the sky propaganda. That's what you're saying. At the end of this election, Labour will still have a supermajority.
Yeah.
Nothing's changing nationally on this at all.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Hence why my campaign has been, but I can improve this area. It has to be local. So these are my policies. The public inquiry into the grooming gangs. So the constituency is split. Half is in Manchester Council, half of it's in Tameside Council.
Okay.
We know Manchester has an issue. Tameside Council last year in their chamber said, we don't have issues with grooming gangs in this area. They said that in their chamber. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure you do. Just because you don't look for it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So I want a public inquiry. I'm going to run that, organize that. I know who I'm going to have sit on the panel, and we're going to speak to victims. We're going to try to piece together what went on locally. I'll feed all this into Rupert's national inquiry, of course, but this is just for Gorton and Denton. If we can highlight police officers, former politicians, council staff, they'll be invited in to speak to the panel. If they don't attend, we'll name and shame those individuals for not attending. And when we've built up evidence of certain individuals, I'm personally going to name and shame those people. If I think I'm going to get sued, I'm going to do it in Parliament and use parliamentary privilege to say the former chief inspector, was told all these things and covered it up and didn't turn up to our meeting and won't respond to the local MP. And I don't care anymore now. I'm going to get some answers. And if all I do is knock over the first domino, maybe other dominoes will fall. and maybe eventually we'll get to the truth of not who the pedos are. We know who the pedos are. I'm talking about getting to the people we pay to protect us and look after us. I want some of them in the dock, and if found guilty, I want some of them in jail. That's where this stops for me. The people we paid for, some of them, if guilty, have to end up in jail, because this is the biggest scandal ever in the history of this country.
Oh, absolutely. And people, I think people still underestimate the scale of it.
Yeah.
I mean, Anne Cryer said, must have been 20 years ago now. Maybe it's not, maybe it's 15 years ago, that she believed 1 million girls had been trafficked and sexually assaulted and raped. 1 million, and that was 20. And it's we know it's still been going on. We know of cases that are happening now.
There's even cases now of it being intergenerational. We abused your mum, and now we're abusing you.
Massive. We found that in Telford.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so that's why I'm doing that, because that's what the people are demanding. And if I can do a local public inquiry with no real money, with no extra authority apart from being an MP demanding information of people, if I can do it, that means every other voter across the country can say to their MP, you need to do that here, mate. If Buckley can do it where he's from, you can do it here. What's your excuse why you're not doing it here? And again, that's what that could be the first domino going down.
Then I think so. And there needs to be massive pressure put on those MPs that are refusing to do that. And again, if you're watching this, that one reason is a big enough reason to vote for Nick 10 times. I know we can't do that because we don't have multiple occupancy houses, so we can't vote for Nick 10 times. But that gives you a reason to get out there and vote. Get all your family voting if you're in that constituency. If you're in Gorton and Denton, get all your families out and supporting this. And if you don't normally vote, get out and vote as well. If you're registered, get out and vote. And just a point you were saying about the issue with getting sued. We made, how many was it? 4 documentaries about Telford, where we didn't just name them. I had a small team. We put a small team together. We did all the research. We didn't just name them. Tommy went and put a microphone under their noses and shone a camera in their faces. Now, guess how many people took legal action against Tommy when we made the Rape of Britain films in Telford?
Zero.
And we went after the top guys. We went after the top Pakistani mafia guys in Telford. Not one of them sued us. And interestingly enough, we went after a police officer. I think it was in episode 1 or episode 2. And one of our witnesses was in a restaurant when the top Pakistani gangster in Telford handed £30,000 in cash to a chief inspector. Was he a chief inspector? I think he was a chief inspector. Certainly inspector or chief inspector. Handed it in cash in a restaurant. Our witness gave testimony to that. We covered that in the film, and guess what? That police officer didn't sue us either. That's interesting, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And that was just on. We had so little resources. We had a team of about 5 or 6 people, and so if you do a proper inquiry, which would the state have to fund that then, Nick? Would government have to? No.
So at the moment, Advance and Ben Habib have both said they would put money into it.
Great. That's I mean, it would be great if you could get some money off the government to actually pay for some of this stuff themselves. And the Labour Party's sham inquiry it's never going to happen, is it?
No,
it's never going to happen.
They can't afford to let it happen, because if it happens and it's a decent inquiry, it gets to the truth, and that ends the Labour Party. Once we find out that Labour politicians were also rapists, when we find out that Labour council leaders and Labour MPs and Labour prime ministers knew all about this and turned a blind eye and did nothing because they wanted more votes, when all this comes out, it's the end of the Labour Party forever.
It is. And I have a feeling that the Mandelson thing will have a massive impact on the Labour Party already. I think that's going to have a massive, massive impact. I mean, I'm shocked. I looked at the polling today and they were up at 19% or something. I thought, 19% of the UK population do not deserve the vote. Right? If they're going to vote Labour, I'm like, guys, what are you doing?
When I'm speaking to people in the area and we mention Labour, what's the percentage? I'm guessing 40% of people then use the phrase, different versions of the same phrase. Labour, They're pedo lovers. They're
Yeah.
pedo apologists.
Yeah.
They're pedo supporters.
Yeah.
The word pedo appears. That's the reputation Labour have now in
Yeah.
working class areas. They're
Yeah.
the pedo party.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
you can't win elections being known as the pedo party. You just
really
can't.
can't. You really can't. And I mean, you know, goodness knows. Do you know one of the things about the Mandelson thing, Nick? Nobody's asked what Mandelson was doing and who he was doing it with.
Yeah.
And what age the people he was doing it with. Nobody's asked those questions. And I think there's a lot more to come out about the Labour Party, about the whole lot of them. And again, you know, when we were working in Telford, I'm not going to name them because I don't want to get sued, but there was MPs, there was top lawyers who are strutting around Birmingham now. You know, they were all connected. They were all connected with these guys. I'm not saying they were involved because we don't know. We've no evidence that they were involved, but they were certainly mates with them because we got the photographs and we had the surveillance pictures of them together having meals and so on and so forth. So, you know, so this conspiracy, you know, between the Pakistani mafia, the police, the probably the security services and successive governments, when the truth about that comes out, I think it'll destroy the Labour Party, the Lib Dems and the Tories. I think it'll destroy all three big beasts politically, and probably reform as well.
It will damage Lib Dems. It'll damage the Tories, absolutely. But the main one is Labour.
Oh yeah. I agree because they were all they were mainly Labour held councils, and
if the Tories weren't involved in this, if the Tories didn't have dirty hands in this, they'd have used those 14 years in power to destroy the Labour Party.
Exactly.
The fact they didn't investigate this, the fact they've ignored it, means they know their hands are dirty. So therefore, we're not opening this can of worms either.
Exactly. And do you know what? One of the things I did a lot of research into this. One of the issues they had was they used the Barelvi Pakistani gangs as gatekeepers in those communities. Obviously, the Labour Party used them for votes politically, but the state used them because they wanted to know what was happening in the community. So they said, you give us information on the radicals and we'll kind of leave you alone to deal your heroin, your coke and do what you want with the girls. That was pretty much the deal that was made.
Doesn't surprise me, yeah.
And, you know, again, you know, nobody's talking about that because nobody wants to get on the wrong side of the security services for obvious reasons. But that was, you know, when you go and dig into that, the evidence is there. So I think that's a brilliant first point, and I think it's a vote winner. It's an absolute vote. What's the next one? Obviously, this is something that you were heavily involved in your career, Nick. So talk about the next one, number 2.
Yeah, but again with the grooming gangs, I've been involved for 2 decades now. I've had paedophiles arrested and prosecuted. So it's not like I've jumped on this bandwagon because it's politically convenient. I've been involved in for 2 decades now. The second point, knife crime. That's what all parents talk to me about, knife crime. They're scared their sons are never coming home when they leave the house. Now, MPs are on 96 grand a year. I've never been on anywhere near that.
Yeah.
So I don't need a full 96 grand wage. So I'm going to use some of that wage to fund an on-the-street anti-knife crime project in the area. Brilliant. Working evenings, weekends, specially trained youth workers, working with young people, hanging around, socializing, kicks out the youth clubs, not going to school, getting into low-level crime and antisocial behavior, and try to take some of those knives off the streets by speaking to them, by ensuring they understand how to keep themselves safe, how to diffuse situations, how to walk away from violence. That's the work I'm going to fund in the area, because I don't want to have a crying mum in front of me and me having to explain why didn't I do enough to save her son, who now died in pools of his own blood on a street.
And how big a problem is the knife crime, Nick? Is it happening a lot in your area?
It's not as bad as London.
Yeah.
But knife crime is a problem in all big cities.
Yeah.
You know, people are stabbed in Manchester, Greater Manchester, on a daily basis, or on a weekly basis. Someone dies. So it's a huge problem, and parents are scared stiff about it.
Is it racialized? Is it predominantly black, or is it hitting all communities?
It's hitting all communities, but like all knife crime, it's predominantly a young black male issue.
Yeah, and inter-gang related.
It tends not to be inter-gang. That's a bit of a outdated mode here, because it tends not to be gangs versus gangs. It's usually about disrespect. That's
Right.
what stabbings are usually about now. You said something about me online. I'm not having that. My friends are calling me a pussy because I've accepted it. I've got to stab you now.
Wow.
So it's that sort of culture as opposed to this turf's my turf for selling drugs. That tends not to happen as much now. It's usually about disrespect, gang
Wow.
culture.
That's incredible, isn't it? That it's literally just, somebody saying hurty words online
Yeah.
and what sort of age groups happening? What sort of age groups involved in this, Nick? What's the age demographic?
Well, kids are carrying knives from primary school upwards.
Right. Yeah.
Primary schools are confiscating knives off children, and
Wow.
these are under 10s. But predominantly, it's what you'd expect. You're probably looking about 13 to 20.
Yeah.
They're the age hanging around on the streets, and they're the age range probably carrying knives. Some are carrying knives because it's a fashion item. Some are carrying knives because they think it's self-defense, and the real bad uns are carrying knives because they want to hurt someone.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always a 10%, or maybe it's not 10%, but there's always a percentage of psychopaths that actually
Yeah.
just want to go out and hurt and kill people, and that's always always an issue. So yeah. So what are those policies going? What's that going to look like then, Nick? What's that project actually going to look like in terms of what you're going to be doing?
Yeah, so it's going to be 2 youth workers working 2 nights a week on the streets in areas we know we have concerns. As the MP, I'll then be advertising this project, and maybe businesses and other people will want to sponsor it, put money in, and maybe we can get it up to 5 nights a week. But personally, I can guarantee 2 nights a week working on the streets, specifically targeting knife crime.
And do you have youth pastors and church workers up there that would help with that at all, or is that something that wouldn't really
We
work?
there's a role for them, but the work I'm talking about now is
It's very
specialized
specialist.
work. This is
Yeah.
what I've been doing for 2 decades.
Right.
So there'd have to be, most youth workers can't do this work.
Yeah.
It's a very small percentage have the temperament to be able to do this very specialized work.
And would they be mainly former gang members, tough guys that people respect on the street with that sort of thing? Is that the matter?
No, I've had some people like that work for me, and they've been fantastic.
Yeah.
But on the whole, no, because they usually haven't got the communication skills, the skills in general, and many of the people who are former criminals in this line of work are doing it just because they were former criminals and it's a way of making a living.
Right.
They're not that good at it.
Yeah.
It seems to be the next step in earning some money. So
Right.
not all of them. Some
Yeah,
of them are fantastic. Some of them
yeah,
mean it. But
yeah.
any former gangster criminal who is being paid to work on the street, you've got to be a little bit dubious about them.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So that's number two. Number three, an anonymous hotline for council staff to expose waste and cover-ups.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So as an MP, I can't really improve most people's lives in the area. Just can't do it. An MP can't do it because we don't have any say over the council. The councils have all the money, resources to improve lives, streets and communities, but they're full of waste and incompetence. They don't work, and they're very, very incompetent. So what can I do about that? Well, what I can do is embarrass them. Hence why I'm setting up this hotline.
Yeah.
There's lots of decent staff work for councils. It's not their fault the council's crap, that the procedures don't work, that, it's not their fault. So I know many council staff who would report things to me and have done in the past. So why not have it official, anonymously, send me information? So I just don't want, a one sentence. Send me some documents, some data.
Yeah.
You've got to prove it. And then I'll go to the press or I'll speak to about it in Parliament. I'll embarrass the council.
Yeah.
And it's like, you've wasted 14 million on this. You've let these 3 girls down. You've done this, you've done that. And I'd want answers off them. And I'd get the public demanding answers off them. And if we can embarrass them enough, they will start changing themselves because they don't want to be embarrassed anymore. And then we need to look at who's the head of this particular department, which elected politician is in charge of children's services, let's say.
Yeah.
And I'll be talking about that individual, saying to the community, at the next election, you shouldn't vote for this individual because he's running an incompetent department. Mm-hmm. If you're going to vote for the same idiots to do the same stuff, then nothing's going to improve. How about you start voting for different politicians and get different politicians in there? And if they turn out to be crap, okay, vote them out and then get someone else in until you get someone decent. But these politicians are there for decades because they never tell anybody they're really in charge. And they are in charge, and we need to hold them accountable.
That's interesting because you always hear the politicians saying, "Oh well, it's a permanent member of staff on the council, or it's a civil servant," or that the politicians are always passing the buck why they can't do stuff. And I think you're right, Nick. I think they are just passing the buck. And if you're elected to do something you can't do it, well then democracy's a fraud and it doesn't exist. And I don't believe that. I think that it's just incompetent politicians who are bullied and pushed around by the civil servants and by the council staff. Next one, I like the next one for monthly public meetings with the police to make them answer to you. I think that's music to my ears because believe you me, the police need to be reminded from time to time that they actually work for us, the good law-abiding citizens of the country, not the other way around,
No, absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head there. So one of the big issues throughout the whole constituency is crime and disorder. People are afraid to walk the streets. That doesn't mean they're in danger, but that's how they feel. So they're scared. We've got rapists, we've got criminals, people are being stabbed. And it's only down the road from Denton that those two female police officers about 8-9 years ago, about 14 years ago, were murdered by Dale Cregan. Turned up for burglary.
Was that the grenade?
Grenades and shot and stuff. So that's just, they're police officers, for God's sake. So you wonder why the people are scared as well.
Yeah.
The police have lost their way. Over many decades now, they've lost their way. They're no longer public servants. They think they're the Gestapo. They think they're here to guard us and tell us what to do. Yeah. And I want monthly meetings with a senior police officer, not a sergeant, not a PCSO, with a chief inspector, with a superintendent, who will answer questions from the public. And questions like, why are burglaries going up here? What's going on about knife crime? And I want to get to a stage where the police realize that our priorities should be their priorities. Yeah. No one I've ever met has said to me, do you know what, Nick? We need more police officers knocking on people's doors in the afternoon to criticize them about what they put on Facebook. That is not a priority. So that needs to stop. And I hope these senior police officers go back to their boss, the chief constable, and Andy Burnham, the mayor, because the mayor runs the police in Greater Manchester.
That's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem.
So, but I want these I want these top coppers going back, reporting what it's like at this meeting. Yeah. Do you know what, boss? We're hated. Do you know what, boss? They think we're the Gestapo. I told them our priorities and they laughed in my face and told me they're not our priorities. So I'm hoping through that, the police, the senior police officers start to understand that they're public servants. We pay their wages and they need to start listening to us and doing as they're told.
Yeah, and I think, what we found, I think it's interesting you're talking to senior police officers. When we started doing the big rallies, we did one when was it? St. George's Day in 2024, I think, 2024. So it was April 2024, and there was a bit of disorder, and I looked and I went, that's happening because nobody's talking to each other. So you have a little, police liaison officer who, don't get me wrong, they do a great job, and they're normally very, very good lads, and they're very good at sort of pretending they like you, but maybe they do like us, I don't know, but the liaison officers normally do a good job. But what we realized was the gold commanders on the ground were just treating us like knuckle dragging thugs. I could tell, because I went and spoke to a woman who was a gold commander, and she was about to send a sort of riot squad in to attack our demo, right, to push people off a road that wasn't being used anyway. And I went and spoke to her, says, hold on a minute, like this, this is not going to work, very calmly. And she backed down, and I went to Tommy after that and says, you know what? I says, we need to start setting up meetings with the top brass in the police that are dealing with public disorder. And we've done that ever since. And it has worked very, touch wood, very, very well. We have not had serious, there's been, a few issues. I mean, the last event we had 1 million people in London. And there was a bit of push and shoving, but my goodness, that it could have been an absolute disaster. And it wasn't, because of good policing, because I was in continual talks with the police. So communicating with the police is a really good idea. It's a good idea for the public. It's a good idea for the police because it brings them away from that, like you say, paramilitary Gestapo type force, which they've been forced to turn into by their, their commanders and by the
Yeah.
goodness knows how many home secretaries and police commissioners. And it means that you have that interaction and that human contact, even with someone who's maybe high up, up the chain. It doesn't matter. You're the MP. They've got to talk to you, and they've got to listen to your concerns and the concerns basically that the people have got. So I think that's a great one. Last one.
Last one is this.
Yeah.
If I'm going to hold the council to account and I'm going to hold the police to account, who's going to hold me to account? Because I can't be exempt from this. So I'm going to hold 10 public meetings every year where anyone can turn up and they can ask me questions. Why did you vote that way, Nick? Why weren't you in Parliament on that day? Why don't we ever see you in this area? It's not good enough that the voters in this area will have to wait until a general election to have their next say on me. Well, that's 3 years wasted. That's me living a jolly life on taxpayers' money when they're not getting the service that they need, that they were promised. I don't want to do this. This is going to be very uncomfortable. It's going to be screaming, shouting. These meetings aren't going to be very friendly meetings. I know they're not. But that's not the point, is it? The point is these people are my boss. And these people need to have almost a monthly say on what they think of me and what I'm doing and what I'm achieving and where I'm failing and anything else that they think is important. Because we need to get to a stage where our politicians start to realize that the public servants, they're not our masters. They're not our overlords. They work for us. We pay them to work for us. And that's been forgotten through every layer of government. Through every layer of politician. They think they govern us now. They think they're better than us, and they think if only these idiots would do as they're told, we could create a better life for them. And my answer is no. Your job isn't to do that. Your job is to serve the will of the public. And if we can get one MP taking that seriously, again, that can catch on through the country.
No, I think that's absolutely. And again, I think from the point of view of those 5 points, the fact that nobody else in your, to me, if there was justice in this world, you would win this election by a landslide. In view of what you've just said and what you've just laid out there, because this isn't something you've just kind of, plucked out the air. These are well thought out ideas that actually give what people are crying out for, which is local democracy. So not only are you the local MP, you're also facilitating change by doing things very, very actively on the ground. And every single one of those, and that's a lot of work that you're making for yourself. You don't have to do that, Nick. You could just not do it. But if you did that and it worked, again, that could become a blueprint for every single advanced MP, right? And Restore and whatever other parties get. Yeah. That if everybody did that and took the responsibility for saying, I'm going to meet 10, that's 10 times a year, a public meeting, having people screaming at you, and I'll actually come and watch one of them, I think, Nick, just to see you get shouted at, mate. But no, I think they're wonderful. I think the rape inquiry, I think absolutely, magnificent ideas. What can we do now to push this forward for you, Nick? How can people in the chat, because I've got some really loyal followers in the chat. I'd say probably one apart from that lad earlier on who was 30 miles away. So I don't think he's going to be able to vote. What can people in the chat do to help you basically get elected in the next general election? What do you want them to do?
Several things. So if you live in the area, obviously vote for me. But there'll be a handful of people maybe. Yeah. The next thing is social media. This battle will be won and lost on social media, especially Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, that sort of stuff. Not so much X. You don't change anyone's mind on Twitter. Everyone knows what they believe, and that's it. But definitely Facebook. Most normal people are still on Facebook. So share everything on Facebook. If you've got family and friends in the area, speak to them. If you live if you don't mind traveling, follow Advance UK's Twitter and Facebook, because they're advertising volunteering opportunities. You can come out, you can leaflet, you can canvass. We've got a big event on Saturday afternoon in the middle of Denton, Ben Habib speaking, you know, lots of other people are speaking there. Come and support us doing that. But spread the word, talk about Advance, and definitely talk about me, my 5 policies, share the videos. And for many people, that's all you can do. But it all adds up.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It all makes a difference, and it's a little bit of effort. You know, if you're on a Facebook group and you know it's somewhere in Manchester, you just start sharing stuff in a Mancunian, you know, because okay, it might not be actually in the area, but some people that are interacting with that could well see that footage. And I'm going to let me play these videos once more, Nick, because I think they're great. I'm gonna play. Let's see, which ones did I play? Which ones haven't I played? I think, have I played this one?
I'm standing in the by-election in Gorton and Denton. I've got a 5-point plan for this area, and number 1 is this: the grooming gangs and child abuse. What went on in... I don't know. I'm Nick Buckley. I'm standing in the by-election in Gorton and Denton. I've got a 5-point plan for this area, and number 1 is this: the grooming gangs and child abuse. What went on in this area? I don't know. Do you know? Well, let's find out, shall we? When I'm elected, I'm going to commission a local inquiry into the grooming gang issue in this area. And if we discover former politicians, police officers, council staff knew about it, didn't do anything about it, or covered it up, we're going to publicly name and shame those individuals. It'll be a public inquiry. You deserve the information. We need to make sure this never happens again.
And let's play this one. Get rid of that one. Let's get this one up there.
And then I lived in Gorton as a baby before moving to Longsight. I attended Stanley Grove Primary School and then Central High School for Boys at Bellevue, which was a challenge.
Sorry, miss.
I was a self-employed market trader, then got a job at Manchester Airport before working at Manchester Council to stop young people getting involved in crime. I was made redundant and used my payout to set up a charity to work on the streets with young people to ensure they were safe and thinking about their future. We uncovered sexual abuse many times and had offenders arrested. I also set up a project to get homeless people off the streets and into accommodation, and then into jobs. I have worked across Greater Manchester, tackling antisocial behaviour and improving local communities. I have even advised Prime Ministers. Our late Queen recognised me for this work and awarded me an MBE in 2019. There is nothing special about me. I'm one of you. I want the best for my neighbours, my community and my country. The time for doing nothing is over. Stand up, chin up, shoulders back. You have already won the lottery of life. You were born English in England.
Brilliant. Superb. Absolutely superb.
I lived in Gorton School. And
absolutely brilliant. So, guys, you know what to do. If you're in Gorton and Denton, vote for Nick. But this election is not the end of Nick. What happens? Let's say you do your 4 years as an MP. What's your plans for the future, Nick? Personally, what do you see yourself doing? What's your next steps after being an MP for 10 years or whatever it is?
What comes after politics, I don't know. I've spent decades improving Manchester and Greater Manchester and people's lives, and then I realised it's great doing it on an individual basis, and that needs to be done. But we need to change the system. How about we improve people's lives on a wholesale basis, a mass change? And that takes changing systems and improving government. Hence why I then moved into politics. So while I'm an MP, or maybe I'll lose this one, but maybe I'll try again, I just want to get my hands on some levers of power, because I know the changes that need to be done if we're going to improve this country. And the changes I need are really around personal responsibility. I want a smaller state. I want you in charge of your life. I want you in charge of your family, your street, your community, your nation. I want you to be the king and the queen of your castle. I don't want you looking to the state for handouts, to fix your problems, to do this, do that. English men and women never used to be like this. We were kings and queens. Now we're beggars. We're begging off a socialist state all the time. And that's the future I want for my grandchildren. I want them to have the country I had 50 years ago, and for them to understand they can make their life successful. It doesn't matter about the government. It doesn't matter what problems you have personally or economically, because when you live in this country and you've got aspiration and you've got self-respect and confidence, the sky's the limit. And that's the message I try to send to people.
Yeah, and I think that's the message of your book as well, isn't it? The one I read, My England,
England, my England.
England
Yeah.
by England, England by England, and you've got a new book out as well, Anglophobia.
Yeah.
Do you want to give a quick plug for those two books?
Yeah,
'Cause
sure.
again,
Both of them available on Amazon. Just Google Amazon Books, Nick Buckley, MBE. My latest book, Anglophobia, is really exploring hatred of the English, which is a real thing. It started in the UK. The Celtic nations started hating the English because they were envious and we were the biggest country, the most populous. But Anglophobia now means more than that now. It also means hatred of the UK. It means hatred of America. It means hatred basically of white people. Anglophobia now means hatred of white people. So I explore that in the book. I give examples like, if Black Lives Matter is a powerful mantra to empower Black people, why is White Lives Matter a racist slogan?
yeah,
It doesn't make sense.
I agree. I agree.
If we've got Black Pride is a way of Black people to coalesce around pride of their heritage, their history, why is White Pride a racist organization? Why is Gay Pride a wonderful celebration of sexuality? These are all the things that are against us. But then I look at, why do people hate us? And there's two reasons. You can split people into two groups. You've got foreigners who hate us, and you've got British people who hate themselves. Yeah. British people who hate themselves, basically the woke, the far left. It's basically a mental illness. And I explore well-known mental illnesses and show you how it's connected to that. I show the direct equivalence in things like, manic depression, all those sort of things. But then we look at foreigners and we go, why do foreigners hate us? Why do foreigners move here to our country and then say white people are racist and I'm living in a white supremacy country? Why are they like that? And the answer is plain and simple: this jealousy and envy. What happens is, when you come to the first world, when you come to UK or Western civilization, and you look at what we've achieved, when you look what England's achieved as a foreigner, and then you think to yourself, what did my ancestors ever achieve? And you go, the best they ever did was build a mud hut. And you look at St. Paul's Cathedral, you look at the science, the medicine, the things we've developed. We went to the moon. Americans, who are our children, basically. Yeah. There's only two ways to handle that. You either say to yourself, these people are better than my people, or you say, these people cheated. These people robbed the world. These people stole things from around the world. That's why they're in a better position they are today. That's easier to handle than the truth. And the truth is, we're just better. Our ancestors were better than your ancestors. That doesn't mean I'm better than you. That just means my ancestors were better than your ancestors. Because if your ancestors were better, you wouldn't be a third world country. You wouldn't have come to my country to live. So there's a lot of honesty in there. It'll be hard for some people to read it, but you'll read it and you'll go, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't. Some of the things I discovered that I thought were true, and the more research I read, I went, this was a load of rubbish. This never happened.
Yeah. It's quite often the way, isn't it? And I mean, I think, that you've got the crucifix behind you. I think Christianity had a massive impact on making Britain great and making, Western civilization, what it was.
It was the foundation we built the Western civilization on. And I'm not a religious person. And that's a memento from when I went to Naples in Italy.
Right, okay,
But someone who's not religious, even I see the huge benefits of living in a Christian country. All you've got to do is look at the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And see and look at other religions where they live and go, is there any other countries you'd rather live in? Japan and South Korea may be exceptions, but apart from then, every other country, every Western country, every first world country is a Christian country.
Absolutely. And well, actually, South Korea's very, very there's a massive, Japan's pretty fallen, but South Korea has a massive evangelical Christian community, has done for over a century, well over a century.
Right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's been Christian revivals in South Korea. There actually was in North Korea. In fact, funnily, and I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but what do they call him? Kim Il-jung or whatever they call him. His dad, or his either his grandfather or great grandfather was a Christian, and one of his parents was a pastor, and he kind of got into communism instead of Christianity and plunged the whole of North Korea into absolute chaos and bedlam. So that shows the difference between Christianity and secular atheism and communism and the stuff what we've got in power in our country now. And I think there's a big tussle, there's a big spiritual battle going on, and we're all in the middle of it, whether we know it or not, So, Nick, that was a fantastic interview. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I hope I've done you some good. I was deliberately non-controversial. I deliberately didn't poke too many hornets' nests on all the different subjects that I quite often cover. But come on again, Nick, because I'd love to, after the election, if you get elected, it'd be great to talk to Nick Buckley, MBE MP. So absolutely, that would be great. And we wish you absolutely all the best. I mean, it would be great for you. It would be absolutely stratospheric for Advance UK. I'm sure Ben would be absolutely delighted. And no matter what happens, we're all on the same team now. Team. We're all fighting in the same direction. And I really do hope that something really special happens up there in Gorton and Denton, and miracles do happen. Not that you need a miracle, but you know what I mean. It's going to be, it's going to be good. So, anything you want to say before you go?
Not just that. You have to be in the race to win it, and if you're fearful all the time that you're going to fail, well, that means you're never going to anything worth entering. I may fail this, I may win this. It doesn't matter the outcome. It's the fight. You've got to take part in the fight if you want to succeed. And I'm tired of us being a nation of cowards. To a certain extent, we've become a nation of cowards, and I'm determined not to be one of them. So bring on the fight, bring on the result. I've done my best. No one can ever ask more of you than your best.
Well, fantastic, Nick. And I'm going to play a little promo for Advance that I shot last Friday, obviously before all the Restore stuff came out. So it's just a little promo. I'm gonna drop that in the screen now. So we've all been talking about politics for years, and the Mother of Parliaments is behind me. House of Parliament, an amazing structure, amazing building, amazing architecture. It's iconic. When everybody sees that, they know that they're looking at London. But without a political solution, without a political answer to the questions that we're facing, we're in a world of trouble. And there is one answer. There's a very good answer. It's Advance UK. I believe it's the only answer. We need that house that you can see behind me, absolutely stacked full of Advance UK MPs. We need Ben Habib as Prime Minister. I mean that. We want Ben Habib as Prime Minister, Ben for number 10. And at the next general election, we have a chance to do this. We really genuinely do. And it's up to every single one of us what we do and how we do it. But for me, getting Ben Habib into number 10 Downing Street, well, as far as I'll be concerned, that'll be mission accomplished, job done. I can then put my feet up and relax and take it easy. Let's get Ben in for number 10. There you go. And obviously it starts with Nick. We've got to get Nick in first. He's going to be the trailblazer and getting everyone in. Nick, great seeing you. We'll do it again soon. Wish you all the best. And again, thanks very much for coming on. And again, everybody in the chat, thanks for watching and listening. I didn't go through any of the chats because I was just really focusing on what Nick's got to say and what he's doing. So we'll do some more lives and we'll go into the chats and all that sort of stuff again. But Nick, thanks very much. And I will see you again very soon. Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.